it does come into the right-of-way.
Questions for Leonard? These people, the people never came to the city or any of the building departments for a permit? Any
This structure is in the front yard setback. If they did come in, it would have been denied right on the spot.
Okay.
And then they'd be coming in front of you for the variance.
What is the situation with carports?
Well, our code states that you cannot have an accessory structure outside in the front yard setback of a primary residence.
Any structure?
Any structure. Unless it's attached to the building, then you have your garages that are attached. That's really isn't looked at as an accessory structure because it's part of the primary. This structure is detached from the primary structure.
But even an attached garage
You
has
have
to be at least
25 feet back
25
in this zoning district. And in fact, this is like Attorney Melly stated that it does encroach into the right-of-way.
What are the alternatives here?
Well, if you look at the property, it does have two detached structures. I personally haven't been by the site recently. With the building of the other detached structures, I believe it could have been worked in order to accommodate somebody with needs.
Okay, if this was denied, what will the process be?
Well, if it's denied, I'd request that the structure that was put up without a permit be taken down within 30 days.
Okay. Other questions? Mr. Josephson, you have anything to add?
Yes, Steve Josephson, city planner. Mr. Schwint covered basically the essentials of this petition. You know, just to reiterate, this was built without a permit, so they're here after the fact to try to obtain a permit. And they were sent a letter on May 14th. There's a letter dated May 14th that actually told them that there was a zoning code violation there and that they either needed to remove it or request a variance. When we look for variances, we look at, you know, there's a number of criteria that we look at, you know, some sort of established hardship, how this is going to impact the neighborhood, what makes this property, you know, what makes this property unique so that a variance was needed. And the staff has looked at this and has not found that this has met any of those requirements within the code. Although it talks about, yes, we understand that they have a son who has a disability. How this is going to accommodate this really isn't clear at all. Or as Mr. Schwint said, given the situation, there could have been some ideas had they initially approached the city for a building permit. There might have been some recommendations that our building staff would have been more than happy to have discussed with them. So this is after the fact. I believe that granting a variance for an accessory structure in a front yard would set a precedent. It would set a precedent, and I don't think it's a precedent that the city wants to take. This is a case too where this appears to encroach into the city's right-of-way. And I had a discussion with the surveyor who had suggested that to the applicant, that this may well have happened, and we're going to start put anything in the front yard, and you're always going to run that risk too. It's not uniform with the development pattern in this city, which is not to have accessory structures in the front yard. This is also a corner lot, so there's no way of knowing how this is going to obstruct both pedestrian and auto traffic and any other traffic coming through there. From staff perspective, we don't see any grounds for support for this. Had they come in before the permit, before they built this, Our staff would have worked with them and found some ways to try to accommodate their needs. They've come in after the fact, and that's what makes that difficult. The staff recommendation is this doesn't meet any of the criteria that the city has for a variance, and staff recommends denial. And I'm here to answer any questions you may have.
Okay, Steve, thank you. Questions, other questions? Anything else from anyone?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Steve, or Scott.
if they would have come to us and, you know, we would have discussed options, is there any way we could have incorporated a front yard carport into the plans? Is there accessibility from the back two structures?
Leonard, do you have any
Well,
additional comment for that?
again, with not being right by the site, I can't really answer that
Okay.
right now. But there are two fairly large detached structures that are real close to the property, whether something could have been implemented to accommodate. Everything's possible. Yeah.
Whether it even could have been made if you could have had some way to have had like a lean-to or something to attach those to the house. I don't know if that would have, well, it would have made it part of the primary structure, but as long as they were within their setbacks, that shouldn't have been an issue, so.
And remember, this is detached from the house, so you still have space between the house and this carport. So as far as accommodations, whether you have pavement, you are not out of the elements with this. So as far as accommodations for special needs or handicapped person, not being attached to the structure, I don't know that you encompass all what you're looking for here.
Okay.
And it sounds like the precedence might be implied if you said you were approached by another.
And yes, we do, every summer, we get a lot of the portable detached structures that go up. Somebody wants to protect their vehicles from our hailstorms. They go up without permits. They do not meet the minimum requirements of the code for our wind, our snow loads, so they are a hazard. But they still go up. And we send out the letters. Most of them do come down without coming in front of the board.
Okay.
I just wanted to add too, from previous experience with other jurisdictions, not that carports are necessarily a bad thing, they can be a good thing, but oftentimes one goes up and then, people make a quick sale without realizing that this has to go through a permitting process, and then we end up with an enforcement issue, and a lot of times one will go up and then several will come through after that, and then we've got to deal with the enforcement issue for that. So setting a precedent for this could very well lead, as Mr. Schwint was saying, to more of the same.
Mr. Curton, do you have any comment? Okay. Any further questions or comments? Are you ready for a decision?
Mr.
Anyone?
Chairman, I make a motion to deny the request as stated.
Motion has been made by Trevor to deny the request. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Second by Pat. Any further discussion? If not, Trevor,
Aye.
Scott, or Pat,
Aye.
Blaine,
Aye.
Scott.
Aye.
Can I'd
Leonard.
like to request that part of the motion that the structure be removed within 30 days. Can you
Okay,
add
well-
that to your motion?
Let's make another motion on that.
Yeah.
And I'll vote aye. So that request has been denied, and further, is there a motion that it has to be taken down in 30 days?
I'll
Mr.
make a
Chairman.
motion.
Okay. Motion by Blaine, is there a second?
Second for discussion.
Second? Okay, Scott. Any further discussion?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
just for the applicant's information, what would be the next step in either appealing or moving forward with this?
They can appeal directly to the city commission if they choose. Otherwise, your decision stands. And depending on if you add the condition, that then you have the garage removed in 30 days. Otherwise, if you don't specify that condition, then staff will require the garage to be removed in 30 days since it is an illegal structure.
Just to follow up, if they were to appeal, that 30 days would be extended? I mean,
Until a final decision is made by city commission. yes.
okay, thank you.
Okay. Further discussion? Hearing none. Blaine?
Aye.
Pat?
Aye.
Scott?
Aye.
Trevor?
Aye.
I'll vote aye. Okay. Thank you. Next on our agenda, another consider a side setback reduction at 960 Box Avenue. Who is here to discuss that? No one's here. Are there comments on this? Mr. Josephson?
Yes, this is a request for a reduction in side yard setback from 6 feet to 4 feet. The applicants had proposed putting a carport on that location, at that location, and I know we've had emails and discussions with the applicant's representative, their son, and, have told them repeatedly that this has been continued, and they've been noticed that the hearing was going to be today. I can't explain why they're not here. We've not heard anything. We've not heard anything from the Pavlicheks. But they have been told about delays, and they've also, as part of our notice process, we do tell the applicants that that the meeting has been continued, and we notice to them that when it's going to be heard. They had come in and they wished to put in a carport, and they wanted a reduction in side yard setback from 6 feet to 4 feet. It was the scenario they gave us was at the time that they built their house, they had an option to build a garage, and they chose not to. And at this point in life, they would like to have a carport. Staff sees alternatives to putting a carport in there. There's a driveway they can access to the rear and put a garage in there, understanding that that's more expense, but there are other options there. We also look at why we have the setbacks, why we have the setback requirements. In addition to things such as privacy, there's also the impacts of what could happen, the water runoff from having the roof right next to another property, the potential for any, things for something such as fire spreading from house to house. We didn't see anything in here that justified this. I know the applicant had talked about the applicants had talked about the fact that their age, and wanting the cover for that. But as we looked at our criteria for variance, did not find anything that would justify this. I'd also ask Mr. Schwint to see if he had anything to add to this.
Just to add to Mr. Josephson, the crucial is access around structures. Reducing that side yard setback is crucial in case of a fire. And ratings to property lines go up the closer you get. Right now on a detached structure, you can be at 3 feet. However, we are looking at even moving that to actually the 6 feet. Just we're getting congested, we're getting more people with recreational vehicles. It's really getting hard to maneuver around a lot of homes and things. With Mr. Josephson, as far as reducing it down to 4 feet, I definitely concur and recommend.
And I'm here to answer any questions you may have.
Anyone have any comments on the carport?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I guess I haven't looked real closely at it, I drove by, but there is an opportunity for a carport or a structure in the back through the Okay, thank you.
Yes, there is. I mean, they would have to clean out some vegetation in order to do that, but when this house was built, there was an opportunity to put a garage there, and, you know, from looking at the aerial and going out there, they could add a garage in the rear. There's plenty of land for that.
So, ready for a decision? No one here to speak for or against? Okay,
I make a motion for denial, Mr. Chairman.
motion by Blaine to deny the request. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Scott. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Blaine?
Aye.
Scott?
Aye.
Pat?
I will abstain.
Okay. Trevor?
Aye.
And I'll vote aye. So we have a quorum. Okay? Motion to deny. Next on our list, to consider a variance to the height and area for 2 pylon signs in West Ridge First Edition. Who's here to speak for that? No one?
The staff recommendation will be given by Community
Okay.
Development Director Ed Corton.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, I'm not sure the applicant, I spoke to the applicant with respect to this project. I've been working with Larry Nygaard and Roars and the future tenants on this one for several months, trying to get them to go from our current standards in which they were vested in to have the ability to have several pylon signs, to aggregate those together and to make them into one. It makes sense to do it that way. I provided my rationale as part of the staff report. I think that removing 2 pylon signs that would be adjacent to one another and combining them together so that you have a multi-tenant sign, having the design of both of the signs to be complementary to one another with the same materials, which would enhance the development. Staff is very much in favor of that. As was noted in the staff report, I am in favor of combination from two pylon signs to one, increasing the height, and then also reducing slightly the aggregate total sign area for it. I feel that this is a good compromise. It's one that I've been working with them for several months. It's one that other developments are going to, I think, emanate as well to the south and to the north. And you've seen I believe you have attached copies of the building elevations of it. Very complementary, ones that we want to encourage within our community. So with that, staff would recommend approval of this, and I'm available if you have any questions. I'm not going to speak with respect to what the applicant states, but I'll just address whatever issues I can for you this morning. Mr. President? Or
Okay,
Mr.
questions?
Chairman?
Now, if you're a real slow reader like I am, you can't read all these. You got to stop and park and read them.
That's why I have pictures for you.
Any other comment? Anybody in the audience have a comment? Are you ready for a decision?
Mr. Chairman, I will make a motion that we approve this as presented to us.
Motion by Pat to approve the sign as presented. Is there a second?
Oh.
Second by Blaine. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Pat?
Aye.
Blaine?
Aye.
Scott?
Aye.
Trevor?
Aye.
And I'll vote aye. Very good. To consider an increase of accessory structure area square footage at 5 Patterson Lake Drive. Are you adding on?
Depends. Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Rayanne Keelan. I'm in the process of finishing construction on a new home out at Patterson Lake Drive, and I have proposed to build a separate detached garage on the back of the lot, which out there it's kind of confusing because the back is the front and the front is the back. The garage that I'm proposing is a 20 by 36, which takes me 96 square feet over my maximum allowable square footage of 1,200 square feet for garages. As I'm getting into this, I built a house with no basement so that I'd have a house easily to retire in, so should I say. And I'm finding that storage is a little bit of an issue. Also, if you've driven by out there, you notice it can be pretty messy in the neighborhood without adequate storage. So this was the size that I was comfortable with and was hoping for to make sense out of it. I can only go so deep because of where my sewer system and the setback is on the road, so I'm going a little bit longer. Kind of gives me a little bit of an otter shape, but it did push the square footage up a little bit. It's only 8% over the allowable limit, and I'm on about 18,000 square feet a lot, so it seemed to be a reasonable request.
Okay. Questions for Ann? No one in the audience to speak for or against?
Oh, they all left.
Everybody left when you
It's
got up
different to be
there,
on this
Ann.
side of the podium.
Questions, comments? Staff recommendation, Mr. Josephson?
Yes, in this case, staff recommends approval for a number of reasons. We did go through the neighborhood, and there are various sizes of accessory structures that, well, let me back up and give you a little background on this area. Okay, this is a kind of an unusual area. It's in the extraterritorial zone. Wasn't always, but it's in the extraterritorial zone. This is property I believe is owned by the, I believe it's owned by the Bureau of Land Management. They work with the Army Corps of Engineering. It is managed by the City Parks and Recreation Board. In situations like this where people are renting from the BLM, they do handle their own building permits. And if a variance is necessary, they do come, that would be up to them to obtain that, and then the Parks and Recreation Department will abide by whatever the city's regulations and decisions are. Typically, a lot that with the zoning is 7,500 square feet. This is a case where this lot is almost twice, that size. There are varying existing accessory structures, some that are well over the 1,200 square foot threshold. The applicant is proposing that this accessory structure, where they are proposing to place it, it does meet all the setback requirements of the R1 zoning district, and it is less than 10% of what it would be represent an increase of less than 10% of the maximum square footage for an accessory structure. I know I had a phone call from one of the neighbors who did not have any objection to this. They just wondered if this was going to affect the fence that they had put up. The staff in this case does recommend approval of the variance to increase the amount of accessible structure from 1,200 square feet to 1,296 square feet, given that this is also in some ways a more rural setting than in a city, where there could be some larger structures, and given what's out there. And I'm here to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Any questions?
And the sidewall heights, the sidewall height is like a standard garage, so it's
Standard
not
garage.
like it's a 14-foot sidewall height which is another just little thing I'd throw out.
Okay. Any further comments or questions? Leonard, do you have anything?
No, I don't.
Okay. You ready for a decision? Trevor?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Scott?
Based on the information presented as well as staff recommendation, I move we approve the variance as presented.
Okay, moved by Scott to approve the variance to 1296.
I'll second that.
Second by Pat. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Scott?
Aye.
Pat?
Aye.
Blaine?
Aye.
Trevor?
Aye.
I'll vote aye.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Started out pretty tough this morning. I was getting nervous.
Anything further to come before the board?
And Mr. Chair,
Yes.
said we had a request from an applicant to continue.
Yes.
We'll continue a variance request, and they plan to come back to the next board. of-
At the October meeting. Is there anyone that can't make the October meeting right now? Huh? That date would be, I haven't got my calendar with me. There he's got it. The second Monday,
It would be, yes, it would be October the 13th.
October 13th.
That
Keep-
might
keep-
be in Virginia, I'm not sure. I won't know till the next couple of days here whether I'm going
Try and be here if you can. Let's,
on.
Well, Commissioner Grant, just give us, as soon as you know, let us.
Okay.
let us know.
yeah. Okay, sounds good. Is there a motion to adjourn? Motion by Trevor, second by Scott. We're adjourned.
Thank you.
Off the record, is this Starbucks just for